What is up, guys? My name is Magic the Greatening, and today I'm going to be giving you two deck techs. Both mono blue control. One's going to be budget, one's going to be competitive. Let's get right into it. We're going to start with a budget deck, because I like budget decks. We're playing only 7 creatures in this deck, and 4 of them are going to be Baral, Chief of Compliance. The other 3 are Niblis of Frost. I know people don't like playing Niblis of Frost because it's such a high cost for mana. Obviously, you don't play them on turn 4. You don't even play Baral, Chief of Compliance on turn 2. You actually want to play it on turn 4 and then Niblis of Frost on turn 6 or even 5 if you have a Baral out. So, Niblis of Frost, once he gets going, he'll just tap down their entire board. He has prowess, which really won't mean much when you're attacking because you won't be playing any of your spells on your turn. But, you know, you do what you do. Let's get to the counter spells. We're playing a lot of counters in this deck. I'm on a blue deck. You would hope we'd be playing a lot of counter spells. We're going to play 4 copies of Cancel, 4 copies of Essence Scatter, and 3 copies of Negate. Those are all the counter spells we have in our deck. 11 counters. It's a lot. It's a hefty amount, but, you know, you do what you do. And since we're playing a full playset Brawl, we need to play a whole bunch of counter spells. Yeah, I know there's better options for counter spells like Cancel and Essence Scatter. I like Essence Scatter and Negate because with Baral, Chief of Compliance, it's a 1-mana hard counter spell, which is just perfect. It's exactly what we want. It's also really nice, and when you counter stuff, you draw on discard. So if you draw into an extra Baral that you don't need, and then you can always protect with a Negate or a Cancel, you just discard it when you counter something. It's really nice to filter through your deck and find what you need for the specific situation. We're a mono blue deck, and we're also control. We need to have our hand full at all times so we can have a whole bunch of options open. So let's get to the draw spells. We're going to play 2 copies of Anticipate, 3 copies of Glimmer of Genius, 3 copies of Hieroglyphic Illumination, and 1 copy of Pull from Tomorrow. I would play more copies of Pull from Tomorrow, but it's a budget deck. Try to keep it under $30, which is hard for a mono blue control. But it's really nice late game. You can get this for 4 or 5. You just draw 5 cards, and you have the discard 1, but who cares? You just drew 5 cards. So it's absolutely perfect for late game. I mean, you only want to be able to play 1 or 2 copies. I'd like to play the second one. I don't know what else to take out. Well, what are the 3 things you play in a control deck? In a mono blue control deck, I mean. You play draw spells, you play counter spells, and you play bounce spells. So let's get to the bounce spells. We're going to play 3 copies of Baral's Expertise, 3 copies of Unsubstantiate, and 3 copies of Engulf the Shore. All these are really nice. And you can use these against your own guys if they try to remove your guy and you don't have a Negate or a Cancel up. So that's really nice. I've done that multiple times with Unsubstantiate. They try to take out my Niblis of Frost, my Baral, Chief of Compliance. They'll just return it to my hand and then play it again next turn. And the trigger from Niblis of Frost still goes off, so you still get to tap one of their guys. The removal doesn't hit your guy, and you just play them next turn. It's absolutely perfect. As for the Baral's Expertise, you might be thinking that's a hefty move, but with Baral's Expertise, if their board just got super wide in one turn, you just Baral's Expertise into a Gulf of the Shore. That's really nice. Or you Baral's Expertise into a draw spell like Glimmer of Genius or Hieroglyphic Illumination. That's also really good. Or you Baral's Expertise into a Niblis of Frost, which is also really good. It clears their board, you play something for free. It's really, really good. Let's talk more endgame here. We need some endgame stuff. So we're going to play 2 copies of Metallurgic Summonings and 1 copy of Rise from the Tides. I know, Rise from the Tides, people don't really like it. 6 mana. However, by the time you play it, and by the time you get it, you're going to have about 10 to 15 instants and sorceries in your graveyard. We're playing 30 instants and sorceries. So, by the time you get this, if you didn't draw it out of your opening hand, you could just play it and get 10 2/2 zap tap zombies, and they're on a 1-turn clock, which is very hard against you because you'll have counter spells. It's absolutely perfect. However, if you do draw early, if you have a Baral, Chief of Compliance out, or you have a Pull from Tomorrow, you can play the Pull from Tomorrow for 1 just to draw and discard that. You know, that's kind of a lame way to use that. Or if you have a Baral, you just counter something and then you discard that from your hand. Same thing with Metallurgic Summonings. I was originally playing 3 of this. However, I gotta bump it down to 2. It's really, really hefty. You cannot play this turn 5. I think I've played it once on curve, and that's because they were super far behind. Like, I don't really care what you play next turn. You're sitting on like 3 lands. If they're sitting really low in lands, go ahead and play this. But this is like a turn 7, turn 8 if you haven't missed a land drop type of play. So, but once Metallurgic Summonings gets going, it's pretty good. Let's go to the lands. 20 islands and 3 Blighted Cataracts. More draw. You don't need to always play, 23 islands. And they actually don't cost that much, like 20 cents each. Pretty nice. Sometimes they come in handy when you don't have a draw spell. Let's go to our sideboard. Now, we're actually playing lore counters in our sideboard right now. We're going to play another copy of Negate. And we're actually going to play 2 copies of Void Shatter in the sideboard, just in case we're playing against zombies. And they would be main deck right now. However, I can't, physically put it in there. I can't. It costs too much. And if you're playing this as, a casual thing or, a Friday Night Magic thing where you don't really use your sideboard, then you don't have to worry about buying a few copies of Void Shatter. They're each $1. We're also going to have 1 more copy of Engulf the Shore, 1 more copy of Anticipate, and 1 more copy of Rise from the Tides if you think that's your best option. I'm also going to play another copy of Niblis of Frost. Now, the one thing this deck is super, super, super bad against is the Serpopard. I forgot what the first part of that, but it's the can't be countered. It's a card that can't be countered itself, and then it says creature spells you can't be countered. So what do you even do in that situation? Can't really do much for a mono blue deck. We can't just straight up kill things. So that's kind of hard for us to do. So we're going to play in the sideboard 3 copies of Commit to Memory. This will just put it second from the top, and then the other half just makes everyone just reshuffle everything and draw. Now, if you're going to play Commit to Half, you need to take off Rise from the Tides, because that card will become absolutely useless to us. Also in the sideboard, we're going to play another island, just in case we, sideboard and Engulf the Shore. We can take out a Blighted Cataract and replace it with an island. It's pretty good. That'll make it way, way more useful, just so you don't keep drawing into it. We're already playing a lot of draw spells. We're also going to have 1 more copy of Unsubstantiate and 2 more copies of Disperse. If you want to get rid of the Baral's Expertise, and because you don't think it's very useful, you just sub in another Unsubstantiate and 2 more Disperses. And no more Baral's Expertise. There you go. That is the budget deck. Main board is about $30. Actually, $28.92 on TCG Player. And the sideboard's about another $10. However, you don't have to always have a sideboard if you're just playing casually or you're playing, non-competitive tournaments, stuff like that. So, that is the budget deck. Alright, now it's the competitive deck. This is going to actually only come up $115, which is really, really cheap for a budget, or for not a budget deck, for a competitive deck. But we're kind of playing the same things, just making a few upgrades here. The sideboard will be relatively the same, so let's get into it. We're playing 8 creatures, 4 Baral Chief of Compliance, 4 Torrential Gearhulk. The Gearhulk's literally over half the budget in this deck, but he's like the perfect card. If you're playing blue and you're playing a lot of spells, you gotta play Torrential Gearhulk if you're trying to be competitive. This card's absolutely amazing. I love this card. Let's go to the spells. We're playing 29. We're gonna play 2 copies of Baral's Expertise, 3 copies of Engulf the Shore, and that's it. That's all our bounce spells we got. There's other ways to bounce stuff. We have Gearhulk so we can replay stuff. We also are playing 2 copies of Jace. So, yeah, let's just throw that out there. We're playing 2 copies of Jason Raveler of the Secrets. That can bounce stuff back to their hand. It also has card advantage. Scry 1, then draw 1. Really nice. His ultimate, if you can get it off, that's also really nice. They will have to play something to counter it until they can play something, for real. They have to play a spell, have it automatically countered, and then play the thing they want to play, which we will just manually counter. It just gets way out of hand at that point. Now let's get to the counter spells, of course. Mono blue. We're We're going to play 2 copies of Disallow, 3 copies of Negate, and 4 copies of Void Shatter. Void Shatter, of course, really good right now. There's a lot of graveyard stuff going around, especially with blue-white zombie, or not blue-white, black-white zombies. Aristocrats, this is going to be a thing here. So Void Shatter will get rid of that. Negate, of course, we got to play Negate. Planeswalkers in the format. We might see Gideon deck. Gideon Ally of Zendikar, also really nice to counter. There's a whole bunch of Planeswalkers and just a lot of removal that you don't want them taking out a 5/6 Gearhulk, right? Just protect your Gearhulk and Chief of Compliance. Negate's perfect. Of course, 2 Disallows. I think we're playing 1 more in the sideboard. This is just for, like, if they get something out and you really don't want its activated ability activated, Disallow is perfect for that. Also, it's just a 3-mana counterspell, which is also really nice. So, we will play 2 copies of that. And then, as for the draw spells, we're going to play 3 copies of Glimmer of Genius and 3 copies from Pull from Tomorrow. I said in the budget one we only play 2, but in this one you're going to want to play 3. Unfortunately for this, you might want to have to sub one out. I'm playing another copy of Glimmer in the sideboard, but you can't Torrential Gearhulk Pull from Tomorrow. You have to still manually pay, which is lame, of course. So if you want to, you can pull it out. But Pull from Tomorrow, even if you just play it for like draw 2 and then discard, it's not that bad. It really isn't. You just filter your deck. So maybe you're looking for a Gearhulk, play Pull from Tomorrow for 2 or 3 at the end of their turn. There you go. On the lands, we're same thing. 20 islands, 3 blighted cataracts. Nothing fancy there. Let's go to the sideboard. Let's talk about the Serpopard thing, because we're just also going to play 3 copies of Commit to Memory in the sideboard. It's our only option other than just bouncing it back to its hand, or killing it through combat damage, which we only can do with Gearhulk in this deck. And they probably won't block with it because they don't want their stuff being countered. So we're going to have to play 3 Commit to Memories in the sideboard. We're also going to have 1 more copy of Baral's Expertise, 1 more copy of Disallow, 1 more copy of Negate, and 1 more copy of Essence Scatter. Actually, I think I skipped over Essence Scatter. We're playing 3 copies of Essence Scatter in the main deck, if I didn't already say that. But yeah, we're playing 1 more of each of our counter spells, just in case it's more aggro heavy. If they're playing like a control mid-range deck, we don't need as many counter spells. However, if it's super aggro heavy, maybe like a mono red deck, we are going to want to play, as much counter spells as we have. We're going to also play another copy of Glimmer Genius, and we're going to play 2 copies of Hieroglyphic Illumination also on the sideboard. The cycling in this is just good, Maybe you're on a tight, you can't spend 3 or 4 mana on a draw 2, so then you just pay 1 and draw 1. That's pretty nice. The cycling on that card is pretty good. So if you want to, take out Pull from Tomorrow altogether, you just sub in, the extra copy of Glimmer and the 2 copies of Hieroglyphic. Also in the sideboard, we're going to play 2 copies of Metallurgic Summonings. If you're playing a mid-range deck, this is perfect. This is not at all good against aggro. It's good once you get the board stabilized and you're not taking any hits from, 2 mana 4 drops, or 2 mana 4 power guys. However, it's really slow. If you're playing another control deck, and go ahead and play it. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend playing in the main, the main board. I'd rather have Jason there, But, there is situations you would be like, oh, I wish I had Metallurgic Summonings right now. You have 8 lands out, a few counter spells and a Brawl out. You're like, just play Metallurgic Summonings, and then I have counter spells to back that up. And, yeah. Now, for the final, I think, 2 spots in the sideboard, I didn't know what to put, really. So I just threw in 2 more cancels. I don't know. You can replace it with whatever you want, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. So I put 2 more copies of Cancel. I don't really play at competitive tournaments, but, you guys can probably find a replacement for Cancel. That is it, guys, for my mono blue double deck tech today. I play with the budget one a lot, and it's actually not that bad once, I have Torrential Gearhulk in another deck. But, the budget deck isn't actually that bad And the competitive one, the only thing that makes it expensive is Gearhulk and Jace. The rest, and I guess disallowed, and the rest is the same. So the main board will cost you about $120, and the sideboard will cost you about $20. So almost $150 for the whole deal. It's about $140 in total. So that is it for this deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. And if you liked, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.